Bree Thomas, how you doing?
Fantastic.
It has been a long time since you've been here.
It has been too long.
How long do you think it's been? Like 2 or 3 years?
I think it's been at least 2.5 to 3 years.
You told me that I did ask you what you were like in high school, and I'm sure that we've talked about what you were like in high school, but if in case I didn't, and it's not on record, I would love to know what you were like.
You like to go back to this. So I was a cheerleader. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's not.
I was captain of my cheer team, but I was also a little shithead. Was. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that.
This is going to be one of my favorite podcasts because we're so close. Everything else is like, oh, so tell me more about your business opportunities. Here it's actually going to be a lot of fun, and still talking about that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But my parents, that's when they started to really like enforce rules on me when I was in high school. And I just didn't like that. So I definitely rebelled quite a bit. Actually got sent to Wyoming my sophomore year of high school for about 4 months. Yeah. So that was interesting. Came back, and cheered and lived high school life. Got a boyfriend way too young. And that's about it.
When you went to Wyoming, because I don't think we've dug into this story, and it is called Oversharing. It was like a boarding school for girls, right?
It was like, technically it was labeled as a group home.
Boarding school.
We can call it boarding school, yeah.
A group home.
A group home.
And all you got was like a hairbrush? There was something to this effect.
So when I got sent there, the first 30 days, I wasn't allowed to have any of my personal belongings. So I got like a tiny little hairbrush, a chapstick, a lotion, and like a toothbrush. And I wasn't allowed to speak for the first 30 days in the home. We did go to a public school. And I remember we would get a ride to school if the temperature was above 0 degrees. So I didn't have any of my own personal belongings. So I didn't have a blow dryer. So the majority of the time I would walk to school with wet hair. And I remember my hair would physically freeze. Wow. Like if you broke it, it would break off. It was wild. It was crazy.
Only if it was below 0 degrees would you get a ride to school.
Correct. So if it was like -1, we would get a ride. But if it was 1 degree, we had to walk.
That's really crazy.
Crazy.
I wonder if those things are still legal. Legal right now. I'm sure they are.
In some way, shape, or form.
Because the parents are probably signing like, the kid's going to be tortured to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Because I've been in 7-degree weather. And that's different.
It's
like,
terrible.
You can feel it in your femurs.
Oh, it's terrible. I've never experienced cold like that.
Can you believe it's been over 6 years since the first time we recorded a podcast?
No.
Almost 7 years.
Oh my God. It feels like
I think August will actually be 7 years.
Wow.
And to the listener, we actually have created quite a bit of content together. Not only the podcast, but we have a video on creating a
steak.
That
people hate.
We'll definitely get to that one. But the video on how to start a meal delivery service or meal prep delivery service, over 30,000 views. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Over 30,000 views. The one about choosing a Wagyu steak, 11,000 views.
That upset quite a few people.
And it upset a couple people.
But we had fun.
We had a lot of fun. And
that's all that mattered.
So thank you again for being here while we do this.
Of course.
Yeah, it's been really awesome. A lot has changed since the last time that we've talked. We can definitely get into business, but I'm sure a lot of things personally. When we started, you were 100% like just working 24/7. I feel like it was like impossible hanging out with you on the weekends, things like that. I want to say like during the pandemic, obviously things changed, but a little bit after that. And I'd love to like just learn about like how you're approaching work-life balance today, because I don't think that was a thing before.
It definitely was not. I would say for the first 5 years of my business, I just grinded day in and day out. And I think it was necessary. I don't regret it. You know, I know a lot of people talk about like hustle culture and stuff. I'm still a firm believer that in the beginning, you have to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't do that. So, but after about 5 years, I kind of got to a place where it was like, okay, my goals started changing each year. You know, it's like, okay, well, the business is growing, it's established, it's doing these things. Now what? Now what can I focus on? And it was like, okay, well, my personal life is shit. Um, you know, I was trying to date, I was trying to have relationships with my friends and stuff like that, but it was really difficult. So, yeah, I started
relationships
platonic relationships, correct. Thank you for clarifying. But yeah, so like I said, the business was sort of on autopilot. I automated as much of it as I could. So I think the biggest thing for me was just creating that space for those things to come into my life, right? It was like, you're never going to find the right person to be with if you don't have, I feel like you used to tell me this, like if you don't have the time and the space for it. You know what I mean? These things aren't going to come into your life because there's no room for them. So I started working a little bit less. I started going into the kitchen a little bit less. I started trusting my employees a little bit more, which was a big step. And yeah, eventually we got to where we are today, which has been fantastic. I finally met somebody, which is huge. He's great. A year and a half ago. I got to have coffee with him yesterday. I heard. I was so jealous.
I was upset when he said you knew about it. I thought we were being like sneaky.
He told me right before he left. I said, "Oh, are you going to work?" He said, "I'm going to meet Mikhail." And I was like, "What?" This is backfiring.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so it's been good, but now it's kind of trying to find. It's hard to find the balance, right? I don't know if you ever fully perfect it. You know, I was focusing on my personal life, and then I had to kind of reel back, and it's like, okay, well, now I need to refocus on business and evolving my business and making tweaks and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it's a constant battle. I don't know if I've nailed it yet, but trying.
It's so funny. Before we started recording, you asked, like, what are we getting ourselves into today? Because it's always going to be weird. I'm like, I'm not really in the mood to get, like, all crazy. And then as you're starting to talk, I'm like, oh, no, it's happening.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Time to dive.
Time to dive. The work-life balance thing is interesting, right? Because on one end, let's say for you, it's business, fitness, and your relationship are the three things. I'm sure there's more. But if you give like more effort to one or the other, something else has to like eat it a little bit. Exactly. In like the beginnings, you know, a year and a half, it's not nothing, but it is relatively new, I would say. Where do you feel like you've been feeling like the rub in other parts of your life?
I think, again, right, because like you said, we only have so much time in the day. What's really nice is my partner now is very focused on growth and business and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, we definitely both just jump on the computer and do what we have to do, and that's nice. Friendships have been difficult. Again, just because I only have so much free time, right? Yeah. So that's been a hard thing. Some of my friends are not very happy with the lesser time than they've been getting. Yeah. And that's something I've been trying to be a little bit more aware of. Yeah. In terms of business, it pulls a little bit, but again, I kind of was already away from it, and like I had already automated it as much as I could. So I don't think the business has really been affected that much. If anything, meeting somebody that is so invested in his career and so invested in growth has almost re-inspired me and kind of lit a new fire in me to kind of just dive back into it, you know? Yeah. And I also feel like, you know, finding a partner that really fills your tank, it just like reinvigorates you. Like it just gives you life. And I feel like I have gotten that. Yeah. And I'm like ready to go now, you know?
That's exciting.
Yeah.
To the listener, and now the watcher, which is kind of interesting. The watcher?
Hello.
The viewers. The watcher sounds weird. I'm not one of the unhappy friends.
You are not. We've always had a great understanding.
No, I'm really excited for you too. You know, he's great. And you know, if you can find somebody like you said, where it's like iron sharpens iron in your romantic life, like you can't really ask for much more.
No, it's been a blessing.
Yeah, that's really cool. Your business is something that's always fascinating to me because, for one, it's such like an extension of you are. But over the course of the last 6 years, you know, I would venture to say that, of course, there are the values and the foundations and the beliefs that perhaps stayed the same, but maybe some of the external things have changed quite a bit. For one, it's like, you know, the places that you've worked aren't the same. The friend circles aren't necessarily the same because they maybe shift a little bit. Do you feel like your business has evolved with you? And if so, like, where do you feel like it's going?
I feel like it's definitely evolved with me. We had this conversation before. I feel like I didn't allow my business to evolve quickly enough. Like I said, after 5 years of just kind of putting my head down and grinding, I feel you and I are so stubborn. We'll never say like, oh, I'm burnt out, or, oh, I'm like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This stuff. But I kind of got to a point where the creativity and all of that stuff just was, the zest for it was kind of lacking. So I feel like the business just kind of stayed very stagnant, just in terms of like what it was, which was great. Our sales were still going up every single year. I mean, we peaked in COVID. But yeah, I think like I said, I met somebody, I got filled up, and I realized that it's time to make some changes and it's time to evolve.
I love that. That's interesting because I'm in a similar place, I would say. Do you have a little bit of like, do you have it all a little bit of a feeling of like, I don't really need to do all of that stuff that I wanted to do maybe 5 years ago with this business. Let's say for me, like, oh, I don't really care to build a 40-person business anymore because I have all my fulfillment at home. Do you have any of that?
1000%. I think in the beginning, right, it's all just growth. It's just numbers. And then you kind of get to a point where it's like, okay, well, what about happiness and fulfillment and stuff like that, right? So how do we have it all? How do we arrange all of these pieces of this puzzle and make this business work for me?
Yeah.
Right? And just fulfill me in all of those ways.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. That first time, like maybe the first 2 years of us, of our friendship, it was just like, how do we like kind of take over the world, or at least take over our small portion of the world?
Yeah.
I don't care about that at all anymore.
Me neither.
You know, time with the people that you care about is kind of the most important thing, I guess, right?
And I think, for us, it's, I mean, putting out a product that I genuinely love, and also making my day-to-day work for the business something that I enjoy. So I really enjoy like the creativity aspect of it, right? I do enjoy like the customer communication and the relationship. So it's just, how do I kind of set everything else up so that I can focus on those portions, because those are the things that those are the areas that I thrive in naturally.
Yeah. I want to say that when I don't know why I keep calling back to the first time that we did a podcast or anything like that, but did you have any employees at that point?
The very first time?
Yeah. That would be 2017, 2016 in August. I'm sure I could find it. And I think that's pretty close. I may have
had one, but it was very, very new and very fresh.
Right.
I may not have had anybody, which is crazy.
Yeah. So I think that part is interesting to me because you've had to kind of delegate some of this. And we actually got a question from Instagram about like how, I know you to be a perfectionist in almost everything in pretty much everything that you do, whether it's teaching spin class, the food that you create, and down to the marketing as well, which I think is really cool. And you've obviously had to delegate some of these things. What is like that mental process for you to like delegate that and kind of know in the back of your head, like they're probably not going to do this to my standard. Like, how do you deal with that? And how do you keep the quality of things really high?
For sure. It's obviously definitely been a learning experience, a lot of trial and error. I think one of the biggest things was just succumbing to the realization that they're never going to be you, right? And that's okay. I think, I, in the beginning, like to be pretty hands-on with my employees, going over all of the recipes, but also going over all of the details and explaining, why we do things the way that we do. We're not just making food to feed people, right? It's like, it's food that's beautiful. It's food to nourish people. It's a higher quality. It's a premium meal prep service that we offer, right? And that those little details matter at the end of the day. And also just reinforcing, the value of what we're doing in terms of helping customers and stuff like that. I think when your employees, when it's not just like, okay, do X, Y, and Z, it's like, okay, do X, Y, and Z, but this is why, I think it just adds more to the process. You know what I mean? And at least I think it sticks a little bit better. You have to have, I think you're so good at this. I mean, you have to have employees that
I like to think so.
you are. You're literally the best at like creating company culture and all of that stuff. But
thank you. Hear that, guys?
I've learned a lot from you and how important it is, right? In the beginning, it was like, okay, to my employees, here's the recipes and that's it. And it's like, you have to do more than that.
Yeah.
You know, they're people too. They're humans too. And they're not just machines. And you have to kind of instill those values and those beliefs in them as well.
The whys are important. So in case the listener, the viewer didn't pick up on it, we'll talk about it more a bit, you know, up until this point, plant-based meal delivery service, definitely high end, more of like a, you know, Gracias Madre or Gratitude Cafe. Was that what it was called?
It was,
Gratitude Kitchen. Something like that, as opposed to like nice guys down the street, right? So definitely a lot different. But can you think of an example where like you're not just like maybe with a recipe or something where it's not like just do this, but the why? Like what's one of the whys? What's one of the tasks and the why behind it? I'm kind of interested in that.
I mean, so in regards just anything like even how we wash or cut our produce or anything like that, right? So for example, from start to finish, our packaging is we don't use plastic, right? So I spend extra money to use packaging that is sustainable and good for the planet, which a lot of our customers don't even know. You know what I mean? But it starts with stuff like that. So it comes down to like the cuts of a carrot. You know, it's the quality and the care that you put into each ingredient that as throughout the process, really, I feel like shows and sells itself in the end. Like I said, in the beginning, we didn't have a huge marketing budget, you know, but I feel like people could feel, taste and see and sense the quality in our food because of those small, tiny details. And that's what kind of made us successful and started the ball rolling. You know what I mean? That's what stood us apart. I think being a small company and not having a marketing budget, you have to separate yourself in some way, shape, or form from the other people to a noticeable degree, right? And with us, it's like our food quality and the way that we handle it and the care that we put into every single one of our meals.
Yeah. It's probably no surprise to anybody, assuming that everybody on the planet knows us. I'm so dumb. Like, who gave me this microphone, first of all? But you kind of you were a catalyst to my culinary adventures. And it is funny how I guess when we first met, I may not have had so much of an appreciation for the presentation of something, definitely like, or the ingredients, and like, and you know, definitely over the last couple years, there's been so much more of an appreciation.
You've become a home chef.
I appreciate that. I credit you for all of this. I'd probably have a savings account
if we had never met.
If we had a different hobby than like finding the best restaurants in like Southern California to eat at. But it's been pretty sweet. I mean, finding those things has made a huge difference. I think not in just the way that like food's appreciated, but also just like how it's experienced. And I think that's something that you've done a really great job of. Is, you know, they probably would only notice that packaging. Your customers would only notice like the packaging if you put it in one of those like black plastic containers that everybody else uses. They'd be like, oh, this isn't great. All of a sudden it doesn't feel the same.
1000%.
Yeah. Oh, that's rad. How's the kitchen coming along?
The kitchen is great. That has been a challenge in itself for the listeners, the watchers.
Viewers? We'll figure it out. Like and subscribe.
We just moved to a new kitchen in Santa Ana a couple months ago. So we've been going through the process of getting all the permitting and the licensing while also filling it with all of the equipment that's needed because it was just a hollow space. It's going fantastic.
Yeah.
I finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. We were in the weeds for a little bit. I feel like any sort of big change like that is difficult to do while you're still trying to operate the company, right? So it's like we're still operating. How do we set up this timing so that everything is just seamless and flawless? And it was a little bit stressful, but we have arrived.
Wow, that's really cool. I mean, I would assume you're adding a lot of overhead.
Yeah.
How are you mitigating that? Because it's not like you're charging your customers 10 times more per meal.
No, I mean, it's an investment, right? It's an
Yeah.
investment in the long run, and I know that it'll come back. My employees are much happier in this space. It runs a lot more efficiently. And again, the equipment is an investment. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to last us hopefully a long time, you know? And it kind of is now a new vessel that's going to allow us to grow.
Yeah. And with that, there's some changes that you're making for up until, for the last like 6-7 years that I've known you, it's been plant-based meal delivery service. And now there's going to be a change.
This is huge. Yeah. I've been tossing the idea around for quite some time. And we've decided to start offering, animal protein options.
Yeah.
I feel like the market has changed a little bit. I do still really believe in plant-based eating. I feel the best when I eat that way. However, I think that our demographic has grown a lot, especially being in Moxie now, selling at a gym. I think there are customers that are looking for more than just what we offer. And I want to be able to offer them, sustainable, healthy solutions to that.
Yeah.
So I've been going through the process of sourcing these products, which is huge because now we're kind of tiptoeing on the lines of like being a vegan company, but now, okay, all of a sudden we're going to offer animal proteins, right? So it's kind of how to navigate that.
Yeah.
And I think I'm not anti like meat eater. I'm anti industrial agriculture and the way that our large farming practices go. The way that we treat animals, the way that we treat our land and soil and, profit is the priority over everything. I think that is the issue.
Yeah.
So my goal with this is just to offer our customers a trusted, high quality product that the animal is treated well. It's pasture raised or grass fed, all of that stuff, just treated really, really well.
Yeah.
And therefore, in turn, it's good for everyone, right? It's
Yeah.
good for the planet. It's good for the consumer and all of that stuff. So it's been interesting. I actually just met with our rep at West Coast Prime yesterday.
Yeah.
We're looking into a couple farms. There's this one up in Bakersfield that they raise beef and they're grass fed, but they're carrot finished. So with
So it's supposed to be sweeter at the end?
So with beef, a lot of people corn finish or grain finish because it fattens them up and sweetens them up. But with carrots are still technically like a grass or a plant. But they do add that sweet aspect to it. So anyways, there's a lot of interesting options out there right now and a lot of really cool smaller farms that are kind of on the same wavelength as I am that I'm excited to be able to work with.
That's really cool. So beef is going to be one of them.
Beef is going to be one of them. Chicken breast is going to be one of them, and probably chicken thighs to start with. From there, we'll probably branch off into salmon. And then the world is our oyster. We'll see how it goes.
Yes, your wild caught oyster.
Correct. Wild caught. Yeah. Sustainable. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I came across this video recently with meat from Trader Joe's, specifically the salmon. And there was the difference between, you've seen Seaspiracy. There's a difference between the farm raised and the wild caught. And it's like, always buy the wild caught. But they really made, for a long time, I really, really thought the like sustainably farm raised or however that's phrased was like the better option. Now I regret so much salmon that I've eaten in the past.
It's really hard to navigate the health food industry, right? It's like, so there are some true sustainable farming practices that are good. There are also some, fish farms that claim to be sustainable and that are not so great, right? They just kind of like fly under the radar and they're able to use. It's the same thing with free range. Free range technically just means that they have to have quote unquote access to a pasture. It doesn't
Access to it.
access.
So like they could have a hole in the cage.
So they could be stuffed in a barn all day
boy.
and they can open a gate for an hour and they're free range. So again, there's all of these terms like natural, free range, right? And some people use them for good and some people use them for bad. So don't feel bad. Don't be too hard on yourself.
I know, it's just it's gross.
It's tough. It is. It sucks. And
that from Seaspiracy, like that last photo of it, like the salmon's actually gray and not pink.
Yes.
Oof.
It's bad.
Yeah, never ever again. I hate to put them on blast, but I feel like Trader Joe's kind of like slides one by you all the time.
But that's what's so difficult with these larger companies, right? I see it in the to-go meal industry or meal prep industry. It's like, sorry, Gwyneth Paltrow, but Goop Kitchen just opened right next to Costa Mesa,
I saw that, yeah.
And for example, all of their packaging is plastic. However, they stamp on the bottom of their container like, please recycle me. You know, and it's like that, they think that that's just a free card, and it's like you take the responsibility off yourself as a business and then you're putting it on the consumer, right? It's like, you know what, well, let's get this packaging because it's cheaper. We want to make more money, but we're going to put the responsibility on you to be a good human. In my opinion, that's not right. They also use chicken that it's Mary's free range. Now, Mary's has a pasture-raised chicken that's about $1 to $2 more a pound. But Goop Kitchen uses the free range, which only has quote-unquote access to a pasture.
Got it.
For who knows how long. You know what I mean? So these larger companies, it's difficult, right? Because you still want to create a product that customers can afford. However, at what cost, you know?
It's kind of interesting when you think about the Mary's brand that you're talking about. Would somebody typically see like Mary's and be like, "Oh, that's good chicken"?
I think so.
That's what that is.
Yeah, I think they've created a good brand for themselves.
But then they have like the rack chicken.
They have different like ranges, essentially, different quality standards.
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
And then Goop works on the back of their brand, which is like wholesome, and I think
for sure
like wholesome, like trustworthy. Not that they're not, you know what I mean, but they got to make a profit, and like you said, they put it on they put the responsibility on the consumer.
Correct.
That's a really interesting point. This occurred to me not too long ago, 2 days ago. And it's something that I'll be honest, I care about. I do care about the fact that like I'm leaving my home with 3 bags of trash. It's me, my wife, and my like 8-week-old.
Yeah.
And it's only been 2 days since I took out the trash last. Like there's so much waste going into.
That's happening.
Yeah, that's happening. Was there something about sugar packaging on your package? Am I making things up?
Our packaging is made from corn and like sugar cane.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So if it just stayed wet for a long time, would it disintegrate?
It ends up not necessarily wet, but it does break down over time.
Yeah.
You know, it is supposed to be composted, but if it's just thrown into a landfill, it will break down on its own.
Wow. That's pretty cool. I was thinking about this because I was like, remember back in the day, like you'd get a 6-pack of Coca-Cola or something and it would come in those plastic things. They had 2 commercials with some ducks on them. And now it's like cardboard everywhere. Like where does the cardboard go? Would you ever see Ready Player One?
I don't think so.
It's like a dystopian future virtual reality thing. It's actually you'll love this movie.
Oh God.
Because it calls back to like, and it's fun. It's like a Steven Spielberg thing, but all of the apartments are made from like trash and cardboard boxes.
See?
And then I'm dumping these 3 bags of stuff of like Amazon boxes, and I'm like, I'm gonna live in my trash soon enough.
But again, what's so difficult is that us as a society in America, the way that things have been set up, we're set up to fail, right? As a consumer, again, Amazon sends out all these boxes, but it comes down to us to like recycle. And then we don't necessarily have, the trash systems that some other countries have in terms of recyclables and just the accessibility of it, right? We just throw everything in a bag and in a dumpster and it goes to the landfill. Yeah. It makes it really difficult on the consumer. Where again, the people who should be setting the examples and setting everything up for success are these companies, right? Yeah. At the top of the food chain. So that for us, it's just easy. It just becomes, law of motion.
Should we move?
Yeah, we should move.
Remember in Spain?
Yes.
Like the trash cans had like what was it? Like the food waste, the green waste, and then like
everything.
And then the thing. And it was everywhere. And you'd have to walk out to. And the craziest part is like nobody had huge trash cans.
Nope.
We have huge trash cans.
We have huge trash cans.
Man.
Huge trash cans. I know, it's sad. So anyways, I'm just over here trying to do my best to educate consumers and change what little I can.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, I think. It makes a huge difference. I think that's awesome. How's everything at the gym going?
The gym is fantastic. I love it. Still crazy on a bike. And yeah, I'm excited to introduce protein over there.
Yeah.
And it's going great.
It's
Yeah, it's a huge passion.
Do you have a time that you're going to launch the protein? Sorry to kind of go back.
No, that's okay. So I think our timeline now is about 2 to 3 weeks. Again, we're just testing.
Dang, that's like August 14th.
Yeah. So now we've kind of whittled down our options to 3 different farms. So now it's kind of just sampling. AK, if you want to come over and sample,
yeah, please.
do any meats.
I was waiting for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got to sample a few things, because now the issue is that, again, as a society, we've become so used to the taste of grain-fed and corn-fed beef, and we've been used to the taste of, like, you know, all of these chickens that have steroids and have been huge and full of water, and it's nuts.
Yeah.
So again, it's finding a product that is sustainable and good, but also tastes good.
Yeah.
So anyways, we're going to be tasting a couple different options, and then from there we can pull the trigger and we can make these humongous case orders and get going.
When you started saying that, I drifted off a little bit, thinking of every grain-fed ribeye I've had.
Yeah,
and
they're so good. I know they're so delicious, but that has to be like a special occasion thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're trying to make food for people to eat every single day.
Yeah.
You know,
is there anything that like the consumer can, like the everyday consumer can do to, you know, make better decisions to support this when they're choosing a restaurant to go to? Is there anything that's obvious that you've noticed?
I mean, I think I've always been a huge proponent of just education, right? I think educating ourselves as consumers is huge. And a lot of people try to brush things under the rug, and it does take a little bit of work, but I think it's so important in the long run when it comes to making decisions, right? So it's like when you're going to a restaurant, look up on their website, or don't be afraid to ask the servers questions. Even if the servers don't know, they can go back and ask the chef. You know, oils are a huge thing these days. And it's like you go to a restaurant, everything is cooked in a canola oil or a highly refined oil. And I think it's just educating ourselves.
Yeah.
Ask questions, do a little bit of research. I mean, we have these phones. Google is so easy.
Yeah.
You know, and we have to care,
Yeah.
you know, and not just about ourselves, but about this planet that we live on and the people around us and everything on it.
Mm. You said everything at the gym's going well for you as well.
Everything at the gym is going fantastic.
Cool. Do you see any do you ever see yourself like fully focusing on Nutrivenience? I know that you've like purposely kind of diversified what you're doing.
I think it would probably be beneficial for my business to just focus on one thing.
I was waiting for us.
Yeah, I know you have been, but I don't know if it would be beneficial for my mental health.
Yeah.
Just to focus on one thing.
Yeah.
I really get a lot of joy out of teaching. It's a huge outlet for me. It also is the community and the people and the relationships that I get from it are great. It also forces me to stay active and work out, you know. It really works in my favor. I think if I was just focusing on one thing, I could see myself very easily getting burnt out quickly again.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. When you think about growing the business, somebody asked on Instagram as well, like, how have you made decisions in terms of like how much to grow and how do you continue to like keep that quality, and also like what is your reasoning for keeping it the size that you've kept it?
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm a big quality gal. I started the company not necessarily to be a millionaire and make a ton of money. I started the company because I wanted to help people and I wanted to offer a product that I felt like other people weren't offering, right? Yeah. So I think when it comes down to growth, our growth stops in a sense when the quality gets compromised, right? So I don't necessarily want to ever expand out of Southern California. I want our food to be hand delivered. I don't want it to be in boxes shipped through UPS or who knows what. I don't want to have to freeze it, or I don't want to have to pump the containers full of gas that keeps it, you know, good for X amount more days. stuff like that. So yeah, it's just the quality standards, as soon as those get compromised, the growth stops.
Yeah.
Or the growth can continue in other directions, right? We've talked about, doing cookbooks and online stuff and making things accessible to people that may not live within our range.
Yeah.
That's an option. So I think it's just getting creative with the business.
Yeah. I really want to be a partner in NutraVenience.
Why? What would your role be?
Coming up with cool things.
Like
do.
what? Oh. I was like recipes?
No, not recipes. No, but like hidden dinners.
So,
and then you like only invite the top 5 customers.
So that's funny you said that. Yeah. Wow, we are best friends because this is weird. My boyfriend and I are actually moving into a home in
nursing home.
No,
I'm just kidding.
A house, Mikhail, in like next weekend actually, which is crazy.
Awesome.
We have a backyard, and I'm going to get a huge farm table because I want to start hosting dinners.
This is so cool.
That will it'll be dinner / kind of like cooking class deal. I haven't obviously ironed out all the specifics, but yes, it's always been a dream to do something like that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Man, and then you just come up with the menu, like that whole experience, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and you have the community built in.
Exactly.
Wow, that's so cool. Those types of things are really exciting. And that actually kind of goes into my next question. A big part of our, part of our relationship has been going on platonic relationship, has been going on these like food adventures with the Supper Club.
Yes.
For one of the members, whose name shall not be mentioned, wants to know when the next Supper Club would be.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm ready.
Yeah. First of all, Guy, how come we're always planning?
Yeah,
these?
Guy, how come you're always only asking us when is it and never putting out, any suggestions for dates or arranging maybe where we're going? Hey, Guy, I think in August.
August would be good.
Yeah, maybe the first couple weeks of August. Okay. Mid-August would be ideal.
Mid-August. That sounds great.
Guy.
So we've been to a ton of great restaurants together. And not that like maybe a lot of people listen to this. I have no idea. But we've been to a lot of great restaurants together. Have we been to a 2-star restaurant? Definitely a couple single-star restaurants.
I don't think we've been to a 2-star. And just to clarify, he means 2 Michelin star restaurant.
Are there any other
stars?
stars?
Well, I mean, you have like Yelp stars, TripAdvisor stars. Yeah. I just wanted to clarify.
No.
Yeah, I don't think we've been to 2-star.
If you don't know by now. Anyways, you recently mentioned that Trust in downtown Santa Ana was the best experience in food that you've like ever had. Can you tell me why?
I really enjoyed that because I think a lot of time with these nice dinners, sometimes they can be too stuffy and too nice, right? And I still very much appreciate like approachability. I'm very much like a farm to table gal. So I don't want to see my dessert in a balloon that has, ice crystals and all of this crazy stuff on it. Like, just give me like a peach that this farmer has been growing for 150 years and only like comes into season for 2 weeks, right? Yeah. Literally like just that. And I will lose my shit. So I think it was a good combination. I think, again, they source really high quality, unique ingredients and they prepare them very simply, which I respect. And just the vastness of the menu. There was how many courses? 12?
There was 12, yeah.
A lot. There's a lot going on.
Than you did.
And at least when I did it, it was very vegetable heavy, which I love as well. I think if you can prepare vegetables good, you are incredibly talented.
Do you remember any of the like vegetables that were prepared for you?
We had like snap peas for one of them. There was beets for one of them.
But it's not just beets. Like for example, I had asparagus, but it was like white asparagus.
Yes. Yeah. Delicious.
Like,
We were like, what is this?
Yeah. I'm like, why is this happening? But okay, I'll take it.
It was wonderful. Highly recommend.
Yeah. I love the idea of like talking to the chef, being at the table, like that sort of thing. Makes it a lot of fun.
And that was the other aspect, right? You're sitting up at the bar, watching them in the kitchen. And they were hilarious, by the way. Again, they made you feel like you were just at your friend's house and they were making you dinner. It was just very casual. It wasn't stuffy or uncomfortable. It was great.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I've been most happy to see over the years is, I think, just like how much obvious joy and fulfillment this relationship has brought you. Transitioning from like going from like 100 full-time like hustle status to like, okay, I guess I should integrate like love into my life type of thing. What were some of the challenges that you faced initially, and how did you get over those?
It's been tough. It has been probably the biggest learning experience of my life.
Yeah.
I think because I was single for so long.
Yeah.
And by so long, I mean probably
Like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, 6 or 7 years. So I had to become this person that learned how to survive, right, on my own. And there's a lot of like masculine traits and masculine energy and kind of like just worrying about myself, right? Being selfish and making sure I was good. So now coming into a relationship, it's really just been this mirror of like, oh God, like I can be a dickhead sometimes, you know? And I'm very much just like, okay, well, I'm good.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, no, that's not what this is anymore. It's there's a we, it's not just I. I've learned that I'm really not that great at communication in terms of like vulnerability. I'm more of a like, if something happens, let's just accept it and move forward. Whereas he's very much like, no, let's like get to the root of why this happened so that we can ensure this doesn't happen again, which is the healthier approach. But like when I was
sweeping it under the rug and having a bottle of natural wine is not the way to go.
It's fine. But I mean, when I grew up, you know, I rode horses and I was a gymnast and all this stuff. And I feel like my coaches and even my parents, if something happened, it was like, okay, just like shake it off and like get back up and do it again. It was never like, okay, let's like dive into maybe why this happened and all that stuff. Like feelings were never really a thing. It was just like rub some dirt on it and like keep going, you know? So I've kind of had to really grow in that sense and just try and learn to be more vulnerable and open and just soft.
Yeah.
Which has been quite the challenge.
Yeah. I mean, I was around when you're doing a little bit of dating, if you even want to call it that, like for those years before you found your person. What are some of the traits that this person has that you didn't know you needed until you had them?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the communication has been huge. I've never met a male, probably besides you, you're great at communication, but that actually just wants to like talk about feelings and emotions and stuff like that. I think that's incredibly valuable, and he's teaching me so much about it. What else? I genuinely feel supported, like mentally, emotionally, like in all capacities. Like I feel like he holds so much space for me and he's got my back, no matter what. And that's something that I haven't felt in a very, very long time. You know, as an only child and not much family, my mom lives in Texas and all that. It's always, again, just kind of been a one-man show. Yeah. So I feel like I've finally gotten to this point where I've just been able to exhale.
I love that. That's really cool. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to see everything that you're going to do with Nutravenience. Luckily, you didn't name it like Vegan Venience.
Thank God.
Or plant-based vegans.
Thank God.
Yeah, so that'll be good. I think that the market is ready for something like that. It's funny how many like plant-based vegan like influencers, quote unquote, not that they dictate like what the market trends are or anything like that, but all of a sudden over the last year, it's like, I'm full carnivore
protein.
Now. Like,
yep.
I know.
Yeah,
you looked a little weak. I mean, because 9 times out of 10 people aren't doing this correctly.
Correct. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't think anyway. So I'm excited to see that, and your continuous growth is always like an inspiration to me, and I'm excited to see what happens over the next year, and hopefully do another one of these And maybe even some YouTube videos on like choosing food and actually talking about that for once, which
I
would
would
be
love
really
that.
good. Yeah, 100%. Before I ask the last question of the day, if somebody wanted to connect with you, where could they find you?
So you can find me on Instagram at Brie_Thomas, or the company is at Nutrivenience. You should probably go to my Instagram first because that's really difficult to spell. So
Yeah, Nutrivenience. It is kind of difficult.
spell it.
Nutrivienc.
Er.
Dang it.
See?
I before E, except after C. Except after C.
Yeah, at Brie_Thomas is
Yeah.
probably going to be the best.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Okay. So last question of the day.
Oh, boy.
I know that this one's not going to be crazy. I promise. I know. I
To
messed you up like
clarify, the watcher should know about my fear about the last question. So there was one time we were doing a podcast and it was great and we were wrapping up and I was like, all right, cool, we made it. And Mick goes, all right, last question. And I'm thinking it's going to be super lighthearted. You know, what's your favorite Disney character or whatever? And he goes, is there anything that could break you?
that.
And I just like imploded. I was like,
I'm such a jerk for asking
who
that.
does this?
Yeah.
You are such a jerk, but it's fine. That's why I love you.
This one's a lot easier.
Okay, I've prepared.
Yeah, this one's a lot easier, promise. Like,
Okay.
obviously, we can't go to a restaurant like Trust every day
Yep.
yet. Well, they're actually only open like Wednesday through Saturday
Correct.
anyway, right? So can't go to a restaurant like Trust every day yet. What is your number one go-to in Orange County, Costa Mesa, whatever you want to call this, for like really good, really quick, and like fills your heart and soul food?
I was just there last night. I'm a sucker for this place called Oak and Cole.
Oh yeah, you are.
I love Asian cuisine. I can eat it every day. I think that they have a really diverse menu. They have a little bit of everything and a really good quality and great beverages.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oak and Cole.
Oak and
also
Cole.
one of my favorite
Yeah.
ones as well. Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here again and doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I told you it wasn't going to be too crazy this
Yeah,
time.
that was easy.
Yeah. To the watchers, viewers, listeners, and everybody else, thank you so much for your time and attention. We really appreciate it. If you love the episode, we would dig a 5-star review. If you didn't like it that much, feel free to stick it to us, but subscribe anyway because there's going to be a ton of incredible people just like Brie Thomas back on the show. Thanks again, Brie.
Thanks, guys.